coming up in the next 1 hour. Both the houses of Indian Parliament to start debating the Union Budget 2024 from today. India's leading industry associations hail the budget, says it is inclusive with a strong thrust on quality job creation and skilling. US presidential election set for a high decibel aggressive campaign as Vice President Kamala Harris targets Trump at a campaign rally, compares her background as a former prosecutor to his record as a convicted felon. US Secret Service Chief Kimberly Cheatle resigns as heads begin to roll for security slip at Donald Trump's rally on 13 July. Ronald Rao appointed as acting director of the agency. And death toll from 2 landslides in southern Ethiopia jumps to 229, could rise further as the search for survivors and casualties continued into the 3rd day. World registers hottest day ever recorded on 21st of July. The daily global average temperature reached a new record high at 17.09 degrees Celsius on Sunday. The Indian Parliament is set to begin discussions on the Union Budget that has been presented on Tuesday. The lower house of the Parliament expected to have separate debates covering ministries of railways, education, health, MSME and food processing. Meanwhile, the upper house of the Parliament is all set to hold discussions on the appropriation and finance bills. India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented her 7th consecutive budget on Tuesday for the fiscal year 2024-25. The budget aimed at laying out the roadmap for Viksit Bharat by the year 2047. The budget also focused on provisioning for the agricultural sector, introduction of schemes related to employment, loan schemes, announcements for financial support to MSME sector, infrastructural development and fiscal deficit projections. After India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman presented Union Budget 2024-25, top business honchos and market experts lauded centre's economic outlook.
This budget has had a pretty much the single point agenda to help create jobs. And for job creation, whatever is required, the budget has done it on the government side, but thinking out of box, they have tried to also incorporate the private sector, including the top 500 companies which have to create 1 crore jobs using their CSR money, and also providing provident fund related incentives as well as the first salary to be reimbursed by the government, and many such sort of incentives have been given to the private sector by the government to create further jobs. So for me, I would call it a job creation budget, but overall, the government has also focused on keeping the infrastructure focus also intact, so that 11.1 lakh crore, which was announced in the interim budget, has been kept the same.
Now, apart from the market experts, people from the field of education and banking sector also applauded the budget, saying this is in line with the expectations of people and will also create new job opportunities.
Our Financial Minister, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman Garu, has given a very good asset to our ladies on behalf of this budget by extending the Mudra loan from 10 lakhs to 20 lakhs. And also she is giving one more opportunity for our ladies, that it's a great deal by cutting down the registration charges and stamp duties to a lower cost prices.
There were no changes in the old tax regime rate. However, there is a slight change in the new tax regime rate. What is that is, up to 3 lakh rupees, there is no tax. Earlier, from 3 lakh to 6 lakh rupees, 5% tax was levied. That has been increased to 3 lakhs to 7 lakhs. Now, from 3 lakhs to 7 lakhs, 5% tax is levied. And from 7 lakhs to 10 lakhs, it is 10%. 10 to 12 lakhs, it is 15%. From 15 to from 12 to 15 lakhs it is 20%, above 15 lakhs it is 30%.
Finance Minister has touched upon many very, very important things. I would like to mention few of them. One, it is a development-oriented budget. You have seen the focus on infrastructure-related expenses, which is they have kept at 3.4% of GDP, will be spent only on capex. They talked about road connectivity, bridges, flood control measures.
Now, the Indian diaspora has warmly embraced Budget 2024, commending its emphasis on economic growth and innovation. A standout feature for the diaspora is the significant reduction in gold import duty from 15 to 6%, applicable to both gold and silver. This move is seen as particularly beneficial for non-resident Indians bringing gold into India and is also expected to invigorate the jewellery industry. Dubai, which is the major source of gold imports to India due to its price differentials, may see shifts in buying patterns. The reduced import duty could also prompt price-sensitive Indian consumers to reevaluate their preferred gold shopping destinations, potentially altering established market dynamics.
NRI people are very happy because the long-term finance investment we are doing in India. So the duty is not affected for us something, but it's affecting the India is growing more and more. And we will see the Prime Minister has said that we are in the fifth economy world and now we are going for the third. So NRI investment and FDI investment more and more is going to the India. So we welcoming up this budget.
For all NRI Indians, I say very thankful to Nirmala Sitharaman. Thank you.
And now to give us more details on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondents Akshay Dongre from Newsroom and Anbarsan from Chennai. A very good morning to both my colleagues. First of all, coming to you, Akshay, when we talk about the budget, how are the stakeholders reacting to it? Because we've seen a lot of positives in this. But then if we talk about the reaction of the people and the kind of opportunities it is going to generate, how is it streamlining among the stakeholders? Akshay.
Well, Deepika, we are looking at a budget which potentially not only supports the ongoing infrastructure projects, but also has the potential to boost the requirements, not just of one sector, but almost at every crucial sector, be it agriculture, education, healthcare, defense sector, that has also gotten a push with about up to 13% almost approximately allocation to the defense sector. This is going to be a major boost to a lot of capabilities of the Indian industries and infrastructure projects that are being carried out by the government. Now, looking at the defense sector particularly, because in the recent years, we have seen tensions on the border, not just through Pakistan, but also at the Chinese borders as well. So the allocation of a budget of about 13% of the overall, which is somewhere around $75 billion US, is going to be, in fact, a major boost to the Indian defense industry, not just the ongoing projects, but also the Make in India initiatives that are being launched in different domains of the defense. The other important sector that has gotten a push is about infrastructure development projects, along with education. There is healthcare that has gotten a boost. Tax regime has been simplified. So yes, in a way we can say that the budget has been welcomed by almost all the stakeholders across the country, Deepika.
And coming on to you, Anbarsan, how is the southern part of India reacting to it? A major boost for Andhra Pradesh indeed.
As the union budget focused on themes like MSME, employment and other things, and the states and particularly the southern India, we had a mixed welcome and also some rising voices from other states. And we can see the employment incentive schemes like giving a one month wages to the employment who have joined the new entrant as a job market, and also given a internship, paid internship for around 1 crore people on last 5 years, means continuous 5 years, and also giving a more focus on employment. We had an interaction with the industrial leaders yesterday, and they say the welcoming on this initiative because the Indian market industry actually are having a skill. Actually, they didn't expect that much of skill employees from the market. So after this kind of incentive to the employees, you may get a more employed with a skill. And also after this and various infrastructure development schemes, around 11 lakh crore has been allocated for the infrastructure. And yesterday, Union Finance Minister gave an exclusive interview to DD, and Finance Minister said that didn't mention particular state name in the budget. That doesn't mean that union budget didn't allocate any money to the state, because the schemes may be included in the overall final detail. And particularly the infrastructure level, we can see that 15,000 crore has been allocated to the Amravati city because of Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act. It should be necessary to build a capital city for Andhra Pradesh. And this kind of overall development, and also particularly the state of Tamil Nadu, which is a huge MSME sector. So we can see around 45,000 MSME sector units are there. So we can interact with the MSME sector also. They actually welcome the budget, and they said that angel tax for the startup, and also given a boost to the incentive schemes and credit guarantee to the MSME sector, it will boost their industry. And also the CIDBI branches for the various clusters across the country can boost the credit guarantee to the MSME sector. So it will be a more inclusive and particularly employment and this MSME sector. So it will be a continuous outlay of a budget that Finance Minister already submitted for last 7 years. So it's a continuous focus on that. We can see that this will impact on next Amrit Call of India.
Indeed. All right. Thank you so much, Akshay and Burson, for joining us and bringing us the reaction of the stakeholders on Budget 2024-25. Moving on to the USA now. Kamala Harris has reiterated that she is ready to take on Donald Trump in the United States presidential election. The likely Democratic nominee made her campaign debut in Wisconsin after securing backing of key Democrats and record fundraising. Nick Harper sends us the report from Washington.
It has been an incredible period for Kamala Harris as she ascends to this position of presumptive nominee for the Democratic Party. A real whirlwind 48 hours since Joe Biden announced that he was not seeking re-election. Since then, there's been a number of firsts. On Monday, for the first time, she spoke at the White House as she seeks the presidency. She praised Joe Biden. She spoke about his legacy. And then on Monday night, for the first time, she spoke to campaign staff in Delaware. And on Tuesday, she held her first campaign rally with potential voters. That took place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the very same place where the Republicans held their 4-day convention last week, showing, I think, how pivotal Wisconsin as a state will be in this upcoming election.
Before I was elected vice president, before I was elected United States Senator, I was elected Attorney General of the state of California, and I was a courtroom prosecutor before then. And in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
And now Kamala Harris has won the majority of delegates. They have said that they will support her. It means that she is now the presumptive nominee. It's not official yet. That's likely to take place in the first week of August when the Democratic Party holds a virtual roll call to officially crown her as the nominee to go up against Donald Trump. Kamala Harris has put out a statement in which she says, "I am proud to have secured the broad support needed to become our party's nominee. I look forward to formally accepting the nomination soon." We've also seen a period of record fundraising. She raised $81 million in a 24-hour period, the most of any presidential candidate in US history. That money has only increased since then, now topping more than $100 million.
And because we are a people-powered campaign, that is how you know we will be a people-first presidency. And Wisconsin, this campaign is also about two different visions for our nation. One, where we are focused on the future. The other, focused on the past. We believe in a future where every person has the opportunity not just to get by, but to get ahead.
So she has managed to unify the party. There's incredible enthusiasm for her. Now she needs to convince undecided voters, in particular in swing states like Wisconsin, that her vision of the future is better than that of Donald Trump's. Nick Harper in Washington, reporting for DD India.
On the other hand, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump said on Tuesday that he will go ahead and debate Kamala Harris, who's his new Democratic rival, in the upcoming 5th November presidential election. The former U.S. president told reporters in a conference call that he was willing to do more than one debate with Kamala Harris. Now, Trump's remarks were his first extensive comments on Harris since Biden announced that he would drop out of the presidential race on Sunday. A U.S. survey shows that Kamala Harris is more popular than Donald Trump. The online survey by Ipsos and Reuters, published on Tuesday, shows Harris leads Trump by 2 points nationally, by 44% of the vote to 42%. According to the first national poll carried out since Joe Biden stood down, Harris has a fighting chance of overturning Trump's lead in the swing states ahead of the presidential election. A previous poll by the same firm previously found that Trump led Joe Biden by 2 points. While nationwide surveys gave important signals of American support for political candidates, a handful of competitive states typically tilt the balance in the U.S. Electoral College that ultimately decides who wins a presidential election. The head of the U.S. Secret Service, Kimberly Cheatle, has resigned following a failed mission to protect Donald Trump at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania less than 2 weeks ago. He narrowly missed being assassinated and sustained an ear injury. One person in the crowd died from the gunfire and 2 others were injured. Now, Cheatle gave testimony to a House Oversight Committee on Monday but wasn't able to save her job, as Caroline Malone reports.
Well, Kimberly Cheatle has now resigned just 10 days after that attempted assassination on Donald Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. He narrowly missed being shot in the head with a bullet grazing his ear, blood flowing from his head, and the Secret Service having to move him quickly off stage. But Cheatle, when she appeared at a hearing on Monday in the Capitol, wasn't really able to answer many of the questions that lawmakers put to her, including why they'd allowed a shooter to be on a rooftop within gun range of the stage where Trump was speaking, why, when they'd identified someone as being suspicious, that Trump was allowed to carry on and go onto stage, and how it was possible that this particular gunman who ended up on a roof carrying out the shooting and narrowly missing Trump was able to carry out the attack, even though members of the crowds and the public had identified this person and informed law enforcement nearby that they could see someone on the roof with a gun. Now, Cheatle may have resigned, but it's certainly not the end of it. There are a number of investigations ongoing into those circumstances and those events. President Biden has directed the Homeland Security Department to do their own probe. There's also a Federal Bureau of investigation into the events of that day. There's also going to be a bipartisan group from the Capitol, from the House, who have decided to look into it independently as well. There'll be 7 Republicans and 6 Democrats on a panel that's been jointly appointed by House Speaker Mike Johnson and Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. They've decided it's important enough that they come together in a non-political way to assess what happened on that day, especially when you consider the importance of reducing any kind of violence, particularly political violence, in the United States at a time of great divisions. Just over 3 months now, of course, until a US presidential election. So we'll definitely be hearing more about where this probe ends up going and potentially get some answers about what happened on that fateful day. Caroline Malone in Washington, reporting for DD India.
We're heading for a short break on DD India News Hour, but still to come on the other side. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to address a joint meeting of Congress in Washington. Pro-Palestinian and pro-Israel demonstrators staged protest. Spain swelters as second heat wave of the summer kicks off. And J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is slated to be auctioned off by Heritage Auctions.
This week on Defence Dynamics, we dive into the turbulent waters of Indian Ocean, where shifting alliances and growing rivalries are redefining the security landscape. Discover how India's announcement to upgrade its military bases on Lakshadweep Island is poised to counter the nexus between China, Pakistan and now the Maldives. And also how the simmering instability in India's neighborhood, that is Pakistan and Bangladesh, could have a wider impact on the security dynamics of the whole region. Do tune in for strategic insights that will guide India's geopolitics in days ahead on a special episode on DD India, Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. IST.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Deepika. Now, thousands of protesters gathered near the Capitol building in Washington, D.C. when Israel's Prime Minister addresses a joint session of the Congress. Benjamin Netanyahu is facing criticism both at home and abroad for his approach to the war in Gaza and the mounting civilian death toll. DD India correspondent Jagriti Dave is in the U.S. Capitol and has more on the reception that awaits Netanyahu there.
As security is tightened ahead of Mr. Netanyahu's speech on Wednesday, pro-Palestinian activists are angry about Washington's support for Tel Aviv and its assault on Gaza, which has killed nearly 40,000 civilians in the enclave, according to its Hamas-run health ministry. The Israeli operation was launched after Hamas's October the 7th attack, where around 1,200 people were killed, according to Israel's government. The war has sparked protests across college campuses here in the US, and this week demonstrators will be in Washington with demands for a ceasefire and for the US to stop giving aid to Israel. Relatives of hostages taken by Hamas are also gathering on the National Mall to highlight their plight and call for their release. Mr. Netanyahu's speech to Congress also comes at a tricky time for US-Israeli relations. Mr. Netanyahu has hit back against US President Joe Biden, who's been increasingly critical of Israel's strategy in Gaza and has been putting pressure on his ally to prevent the conflict spilling over into the wider region. It also comes at a challenging time for Washington, with Joe Biden dropping out of the presidential race and endorsing his vice president instead. Kamala Harris has said she won't preside over the Senate for the Israeli leader's speech, with an aide citing a scheduling conflict, but others have interpreted this as an indication of just how divisive Mr. Netanyahu's visit is for the Democrats, some of whom have indicated they may boycott the speech. Jagriti Dave in Washington reporting for DD India.
The Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky on Tuesday praised the Vatican's efforts in seeking peace and releasing prisoners of war in talks with a senior official. Zelensky assessed Paroline's visit to Kyiv as a strong signal from the Vatican. The Cardinal, in effect Pope Francis's number 2 in the Vatican hierarchy, had visited 4 cities in Ukraine, and Zelensky said the talks focused on what can be done this year to bring closer a just peace for Ukraine.
It is very important for us and for the cause of peace that the Vatican is active in protecting life and helping us implement the peace formula, especially regarding the release of prisoners. It was a good meeting and I hope there will be results.
In Mali, at least 26 people were killed after an armed group attacked a village in central Mopti region near the border with Burkina Faso. The gunmen attacked villagers as most of them worked in their farmlands on Sunday evening. No group has claimed responsibility for Sunday's attack, but the blame quickly fell on JNIM, which is an extremist group linked to Al-Qaeda that often targets villagers in the region in a similar manner, including in July when rebels attacked a wedding ceremony and killed at least 21 people. Such attacks are becoming increasingly frequent in central Mali as the country's military junta also struggles to contain violence in the northern region. In southern Ethiopia, death toll from 2 landslides has jumped to 229 and could rise further as the search for survivors and casualties continued into the second day. A landslide buried people in Kufa zone in southern Ethiopia regional state following heavy rain on Sunday night. Then a second one engulfed others who had gathered to help on Monday morning. Footage shared by the local administration showed people digging up bodies with shovels and bare hands. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed said he was deeply saddened by the terrible loss of life and that federal officials had been deployed to reduce the impact of the disaster. As per the European Union's Copernicus Climate Change Service, 21st of July, that is Sunday, was the hottest day ever recorded as heat waves scorched large swathes of the United States, Europe and Russia. The global average surface area temperature on Sunday reached 17.9 degrees Celsius, slightly higher than the previous record set last July of 17.08 degrees Celsius. The director of the Copernicus service, Carlo Bontempo, said Wednesday could eclipse Sunday's record. Some scientists have also suggested a 2024 that could surpass the year 2023 as climate change and the El Nino natural weather phenomena have pushed temperatures ever higher this year. Meanwhile, scientists and environmental advocates have long called for global leaders to phase out and end the reliance on fossil fuels to prevent catastrophic effects of climate change. Spain's second heat wave began on Tuesday. Spain's National Weather Agency said the temperature in many parts of the country is expected to surpass 40 degrees Celsius, pointing at the central and southeastern parts of the country as the hottest areas. The peak of the 3-day episode is expected to take place on Wednesday, where the mercury will rise to 44 degrees Celsius in some parts. Meanwhile, due to extreme heat condition, at least 5 fires were reported burning in the Spanish community of Andalusia. The authorities reported that 170 firefighters and various types of machinery and vehicles were being used to combat the flames. And now let's get you update from the world of business. Alphabet beat second quarter revenue estimates on Tuesday, driven by a rise in digital advertising sales and healthy demand for its cloud computing services. Advertising sales, Alphabet's chief revenue source, rose 11% to $64.6 billion. Revenue grew 14% to $84.74 billion in the April to June period. Revenue from cloud computing services, a widely watched barometer for the health of enterprise technology spending, grew 28.8% to $10.35 billion. Ad sales in its YouTube division rose 13% to $8.67 billion. Now, Tesla on Tuesday reported its lowest profit margin in more than 5 years and missed Wall Street earning targets in the second quarter as the electric vehicle maker cut prices to revive demand while it increased spending on AI projects. Tesla recorded automotive gross margin excluding regulatory credits of 14.6% in the second quarter, compared with estimates of 16.29%, according to 20 analysts polled by Visible Alpha. Elon Musk told analysts on a conference call that the new competitors have discounted their electric vehicles very substantially, which has made it a bit more difficult for Tesla. The company's electric vehicle deliveries have fallen for 2 consecutive quarters as the automaker battles rising competition and slow demand stemming from a lack of affordable new models. Tesla's sales of China-made electric vehicles, which are also exported to Europe and elsewhere, slumped in the second quarter from a year earlier. Revenue from regulatory credits tripled to a record $890 million. Tesla said on Tuesday it expected a sequential increase in production in the third quarter. You're watching DD India News Hour, and now it's time to take a look at other stories making news around the globe. An uncorrected proof copy of J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone is slated to be auctioned off by Heritage Auctions. The book represents the first time Harry Potter was introduced to the world in print. Pre-bidding will continue until 25th of July. Bidders can participate online until the live auction begins. In the latest effort to recover its pre-Hispanic cultural heritage, Peruvian government exhibited 33 archaeological items that were recovered from private collections in the United States, Canada, Australia and Switzerland. The artifacts include pottery and ceremonial items, which were mostly repatriated voluntarily from private citizens. Time to take a short break. We'll be right back, but still to come on the other side. Firing has once again resumed in the Tumkhan area of Lulab in North Kashmir's Kupwara district. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar to make back-to-back visits to Laos and Japan. And Vaishno Devi Shrine Board launches campaign to disperse seeds aerially in inaccessible regions.
This week on Defense Dynamics, we dive into the turbulent waters of Indian Ocean, where shifting alliances and growing rivalries are redefining the security landscape. Discover how India's announcement to upgrade its military bases on Lakshadweep Island is poised to counter the nexus between China, Pakistan and now the Maldives. And also how the simmering instability in India's neighborhood, that is Pakistan and Bangladesh, could have a wider impact on the security dynamics of the whole region. Do tune in for strategic insights that will guide India's geopolitics in days ahead on a special episode on DD India, Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. IST.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Let's quickly recap the top headlines of the hour. Both houses of the Indian Parliament to start debating the union budget from today. India's leading industry associations hail the budget, says it is inclusive with a strong thrust on quality job creation and upskilling. US presidential election set for a high decibel aggressive campaign as Vice President Kamala Harris targets Trump at a campaign rally, compares her background as a former prosecutor to his record as a convicted felon. US Secret Service Chief Kimberly Cheetle resigns as heads begin to roll for security slip at Donald Trump's rally on 13th July. Ronald Rao appointed as acting director of the agency. Death toll from 2 landslides in southern Ethiopia jumps to 229, could rise further as the search for survivors and casualties continue into the third day. And world registers hottest day ever recorded on 21st of July. The daily global average temperature reached a new record high at 17.9 degrees Celsius on Sunday. And now coming back to the top story of the day. The Indian Parliament is all set to begin its discussions on the union budget, which has been presented on Tuesday. The lower house of the Indian Parliament is expected to have separate debates covering ministries of railways, education, health, MSME and food processing. Meanwhile, the upper house of the Indian Parliament is also set to hold discussions on the appropriation and finance bills. And to get us more on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent Dibyendu Mondal. A very good morning to you, Dibyendu Mondal. It's going to be a good morning for all the stakeholders also who are delighted to see the budget 2024 and 25, but not so for the opposition, as we are expecting discussion today from the Parliament. What more are we expecting, and what are the kind of judgments and statements that we can expect from the opposition today in the debate?
Well, very good morning, Deepika. That's right. You know, the Parliament will hold the debate and discussion on the budget that was presented by Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman last morning. So of course, the budgets, in fact, this particular session is budget session where most of the time of the parliament will be towards the discussion on the budgetary allocation for different ministries. Today what we pick up is that there could be discussion from the education sector, there could be discussion from the public accounts sector, and several other important ministries will come into discussion with their particular allocations in the budget. The opposition will also be given time to speak, and the opposition had a meeting yesterday to discuss about the strategy that they are going to take up in Parliament. But remember, Deepika, that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has appealed to all the political parties, irrespective of whether they are in opposition or in government, to come to a consensus, to not do politics inside Parliament and help the Parliament function smoothly. So it will, of course, we'll have to wait and watch and see how the opposition, conducts itself within the House to see that the House functions smoothly, because consensus, remember, Deepika, is the key word here, because consensus is very, very important to the smooth functioning of the Parliament. So, of course, long debates would take place inside both the Houses of Parliament, but the debate on the budgetary allocation will start in the Lok Sabha today, because it's a money bill. So, money bill, is generally first passed in the Lok Sabha, and then it goes to the upper house, which is the Rajya Sabha, because the upper house does not have much power over money bills. So of course, it will first be presented in the Lok Sabha and debated in Lok Sabha. After it is passed, it will move to the Rajya Sabha. So of course, long discussions are expected. We'll hear from many leaders of both opposition as well as the government. There will also be amendments which will be suggested for the budget, but whether those amendments would stand or not is, of course, would depend on how the House, conducts itself. So, of course, and apart from that, Deepika, there are other businesses that are also listed, which will be taken up right after the Parliament, the Parliament sits. So, of course, it will be the finance, the Secretary General of Lok Sabha will present a number of the reports that the multiple committees of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha have given recommendation for. These committee reports will be presented, and after which the budget discussion would begin. Deepika.
All right, thank you so much, Dibyendu, for joining us and bringing us a comprehensive analysis of what we can expect today from both the houses of the Indian Parliament. Now in Jammu and Kashmir, an encounter is underway between security forces and terrorists in the Tumkhan area of Lulab of Kupwara district. Based on specific input regarding presence of the terrorists, a joint search operation was launched by the army and police on days leading up to the 23rd of July. On 24th of July, suspicious movement was observed and challenged by vigilant troops, in response to which terrorists opened indiscriminate fire. In the ensuing fire, one terrorist has been eliminated and an official was injured. The operation is currently in progress. And to bring us more on this, I am joined by DD India correspondent from Kupwara, Salman Kasi. A very good morning to you, Salman. When we talk about the particular incident and the anti-terror operation which is currently going on in Kupwara, what more can you tell us? Because we are learning the fact that the fighting has once again resumed there.
Yeah, according to latest reports, the fighting is still ongoing. The operation started yesterday when a group of police personnel were fired upon. They were on an intelligence-based input that there is a presence of militants in the area. So after that, there was a brief exchange of fire, and during the night, the operation was not stopped, but the firing was stopped due to the extreme darkness. In the morning, the firing has resumed, and as a result, one militant has been killed in this operation so far, and according to reports, one NCO has been injured until now. The firing is still going on. The security forces have cordoned off the area, and they are in a process of getting to all other hiding militants.
All right, thank you, Salman, for bringing us the latest. Please keep tracking the story as we'll keep coming back to you. Thank you for now. Now, India's Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan has welcomed the verdict of Supreme Court on NEET. He said that the government is committed to safeguard interest of the students of the country and their future is not tampered with.
हम माननीय सर्वोच्च न्यायालय की इस फैसला का स्वागत करते हैं। हमने शुरू से ही कहा है, हमारी प्राथमिकता देश की स्टूडेंट्स है, देश की विद्यार्थी है। उनकी भविष्य के साथ कोई खिलवाड़ ना हो, उनकी हितों को हानि ना हो पाए, ये सरकार की प्राथमिकता रही है।
The Education Minister further reiterated government's commitment in making the National Testing Agency that conducts examinations as a zero tamper-free and zero error-free organization, and anyone involved in the process of tamper exams will not be spared.
एक जीरो टेम्पर फ्री, जीरो एरर फ्री ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बनाने के लिए हम लोग कमिटेड है। मैं और एक विषय कहना चाहूँगा, ये सारे प्रोसेस में जो अव्यवस्था हुई, उसमें से जो लोग इन्वॉल्व है, किसी को भी बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। सभी के ऊपर कड़ी से कड़ी कानूनी कार्रवाई की जाएगी।
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will make back-to-back visits to Laos and Japan this month to attend meetings related to the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and the Quad. The minister will travel to Vientiane, the capital of Laos, during 25th to 27th of July to participate in Foreign Ministers' meeting under ASEAN framework. This includes meetings of ASEAN-India, East Asia Summit and ASEAN Regional Forum. Now, this year also marks a decade of India's Act East policy that was announced at the 9th East Asia Summit in 2014. Dr. S. Jaishankar will subsequently travel to Japan during 28th and 30th of July to participate in Quad Summit in Tokyo on 29th of July, along with his counterparts from Australia, Japan and the US, who would also be participating in the Quad Summit. In the first high-level visit by the newly elected Labour government in the United Kingdom, Foreign Secretary David Lammy arrived in India. As per the statement issued by British High Commission, the visit will push for a reset of the UK-India partnership through reinforcing UK's commitment to securing a free trade agreement that will benefit both the economies. During his visit to the national capital, Lammy expected to meet India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and will head for the ASEAN Foreign Ministers meeting in Laos. Dr. S. Jaishankar will also meet him there, as he is also attending the meeting in Laos. And now it's time to take a look at other stories making news around the country. Sri Mata Devi Vaishno Mandir in North India's Jammu and Kashmir launched a campaign to disperse seeds aerially in regions that are difficult to reach in the hills. The dispersal of the seeds is being carried out through drones to areas that are inaccessible. This is done to promote environmental sustainability. The Shrine Board introduced the eco-friendly practice of distributing plants as souvenirs to devotees on World Environment Day. Mumbai's first underground metro line called the Aqua Line starts its operation on Wednesday. The new metro line is aimed at easing the daily commute for the Mumbaikars. The Aqua Line, which will greatly reduce traffic congestion, spans 33.5 kilometers and houses 27 stations. Out of the 27 stations, 26 are underground. The Indian Navy has ordered a detailed probe into the accident involving INS Brahmaputra warship. The probe, led by a Rear Admiral, will determine the exact causes and establish accountability based on the inquiry report. The warship is resting on one side of the naval dockyard after a fire incident on board on Sunday night. The research operation to find the missing sailor continues. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. Indian women's cricket team enters semi-final at the ongoing T20 Asia Cup. An exclusive report from Paris on how the city is gearing up to host Paris Olympics. And adorable jaguar cubs make their debut at the Mexico City Zoo.
This week on Defense Dynamics, we dive into the turbulent waters of Indian Ocean, where shifting alliances and growing rivalries are redefining the security landscape. Discover how India's announcement to upgrade its military bases on Lakshadweep Island is poised to counter the nexus between China, Pakistan and now the Maldives. And also how the simmering instability in India's neighborhood, that is Pakistan and Bangladesh, could have a wider impact on the security dynamics of the whole region. Do tune in for strategic insights that will guide India's geopolitics in days ahead on a special episode on DD India, Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. IST.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour with me, Deepika, and now it's time to get you all the latest from the world of sports. First up from cricket. In women's cricket, at the ongoing T20 Asia Cup, Indian women's team defeated Nepal to continue their winning streak at the international cricket event. Deepti Sharma starred with 3 wickets as India defeated Nepal by 82 runs to qualify for the semi-final stage. Arundhati Reddy and Radha Yadav also chipped in with 2 wickets each. Indian openers Shafali Verma at 81 and Dayalam Hemulata at 47 stitched together 122 runs for the first wickets as India posted 178 for a loss of 3 wickets against Nepal. The women in blue will be playing against the runner-up of Group B. Earlier, India's stand-in captain Smriti Mandhana won the toss and elected to bat first against Nepal in their final Group A game at the ongoing tournament. Tennis star Andy Murray on Tuesday announced his retirement plans, saying that Paris Olympics would be his last tournament of his career. British star signed off with 3 Grand Slam crowns and 3 Olympic medals. Murray won the gold medal in men's singles tennis in 2012 and defended it in 2016. He also won a silver medal in mixed doubles in London 2012. Murray won 2 Wimbledon crowns in 2013 and 16. The former world number 1 tasted success on clay, winning the Roland Garros in 2016 as well. Now, India adopts an athlete-centric, athlete-first approach as a total of 140 support staff members are being sent to the Paris Olympics along with 117 athletes to ensure that the athletes have a 360-degree support. The additional support staff members picked are going only after discussion and based on athletes' recommendations and needs, thereby keeping the cornerstone of decision-making with the helm of the athletes. Of the 140 support staff members, 67 would be staying in the Games Village with the athletes and mostly consists of coaches, team doctors, recovery experts, sports scientists and physiotherapists. In fact, new additions like nutritionists, sleep therapists and even a sparring partner are being sent. Paris 2024 Olympics will mark a historical change. For the first time, the opening ceremony of the Olympic Games will not take place inside a stadium, and this time it will take place along the Seine River. DD India correspondent Narayan Singh brings you this exclusive report from Ground Zero. Take a look.
Paris 2024 will break new ground by bringing sporting competition into heart of the city, and same will be true for the opening ceremony, which will take place in the heart of the Paris along the Seine River, which is just behind me. You can watch here, and Eiffel Tower is also there. The parade of athletes, which traditionally takes place within a stadium, will be held on the Seine, with the boats for each national delegation equipped with cameras to allow viewers watching on TV and online to get a close-up view of all the action. Winding their way from east to west, 10,500 athletes will cross the center of Paris, the main home of the game, where they will showcase their sporting prowess over the following 16 days. Throughout the opening ceremony, athletes will appear on stage alongside performers in line, with Paris 2024's goal of hosting a games that is created for and by the athletes. The parade will end its 6-kilometer route in front of Trocadero, where the final element of the ceremony and the celebratory show will take place.
Team India is all set to field its largest contingent in the field of athletics in the upcoming edition of Paris Olympics. Our next report gives you a detailed analysis about the players and their achievements so far in the track and field event. Take a look. India is once again stepping on the track with a dream of bagging an Olympic gold. And history has it written in golden words as India's golden boy made it possible in the last edition of Olympics that took place in Tokyo in the year 2021. But fast forwarding to the current year, 2024, all Indians are eyeing not only on Neeraj Chopra but many other rising stars in the field of track and field. Well, if we talk about India's participation and especially in athletics at the Paris Olympics, India is sending its largest squad in athletics. The contingent comprises of 29 members, out of which 11 are women and 18 are men. 27 are the competing athletes, while 2 are reserve athletes. In an exclusive conversation, Athletics Federation of India's president Adil Sumiriwala said that he want the players to perform at the best of the level.
We have very, very good athletes in the current contingent. At least 12 of them qualified directly. So those people will probably be able to fight hard to be in the top 8 and be in the finals. The rest have qualified on ranking system. I'd be very happy if all of them can do their personal best, break national records or Asian records, and then see what happens from there, whether they can win medals, not win medals. The important thing is, can you perform your best? And if you perform your best, I am happy.
While Neeraj Chopra is the reigning world champion in javelin throw, who skipped the recent Paris leg of the Diamond League to prepare for the Summer Olympics, India's athletic squad is also studded with other great stars. Race walkers Priyanka Goswami and Akashdeep Singh were the first Indian to qualify for athletics this year. On the other hand, Avinash Sable, Tejinder Pal Singh Toor won gold medals at the Hangzhou edition of Asian Games. Not only this, 4x400 meter men's relay team featuring Mohammad Anas, Mohammad Ajmal, Amod Jacob and Rajesh Ramesh qualified at the World Athletics Relay 2024 tournament in Bahamas. Ahead of the Paris Games, while interacting with Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Neeraj Chopra urged all the athletes to play fearlessly and perform their best since this opportunity comes once in every 4 years.
मैं सभी एथलीट्स को ये बोलना चाहूँगा कि 4 साल में मौका मिलता है और अपने अंदर घुस के उस चीज़ को निकालें कि क्या वो चीज़ है जिससे हम अपना बेस्ट दे सकते हैं, क्योंकि मेरा टोक्यो मेरा पहला ओलंपिक्स था और पहले ओलंपिक्स में ही बहुत ही अच्छा रिजल्ट रहा, गोल्ड जीता देश के लिए.
Interestingly, track and field disciplines have been the biggest beneficiaries of government funding in this Olympic cycle after javelin thrower Neeraj Chopra's top finish in the Tokyo edition 3 years ago. According to official data from Sports Authority of India's Mission Olympic Cell, the government is spending a whopping 96.08 crore rupees for athletics. It is the biggest chunk in the close to 470 crore rupees which has been spent on India's preparation for the Games, that this time across 16 sporting disciplines. In the previous Olympic cycle, athletics received 5.38 crore rupees from TOPS funds. As the athletes gear up for the biggest sporting extravaganza, come and let's cheer for our Indian athletes at Paris 2024 Olympics. Deepika Mehto's report for DD India. Now, 3 adorable jaguar cubs made their debut at the Mexico City Zoo, delighting the visitors. The cubs, 2 females and 1 male, were born on the 7th of March and were isolated until about 3 weeks ago. The arrival of these jaguars is part of the conservation and preservation program carried out in Mexico zoos. That's all for this edition of DD India News Hour, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Deepika Mehta, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour. Namaskar.